The bright lights of the Tamron Hall Show studio in New York City hummed with the familiar energy of daytime television. It was a crisp autumn morning in 2025, and the audience, a diverse mix of fans, journalists, and curious onlookers, buzzed with anticipation. The set was warm and inviting, with plush armchairs arranged in a semicircle, a large coffee table adorned with fresh flowers, and massive screens displaying the show's logo in bold, empowering fonts. Tamron Hall, the Emmy-winning journalist and host, known for her sharp wit, empathetic interviews, and unflinching pursuit of truth, sat poised at the center. Her show had become a staple for raw conversations on everything from celebrity triumphs to societal injustices, drawing millions of viewers each week. Today's guest was none other than Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. The announcement of his appearance had sent ripples through social media and news outlets. Harry was promoting the latest initiative from Archwell Incorporated, the nonprofit he co-founded with his wife, Meghan Markle, focusing on mental health advocacy and environmental campaigns. In the wake of his best-selling memoir, Spare, which had rocked the world 2 years prior, Harry had become a global symbol of resilience, vulnerability, and rebellion against tradition. At 41, he carried himself with the poise of a military veteran, straight-backed, with a warm smile that masked the scars of public scrutiny. His recent activities included expanding the Invictus Games Foundation, supporting mental health programs in Africa through Centebail, and settling high-profile lawsuits against British tabloids, including a notable victory against News Group newspapers earlier that year. But whispers of ongoing family tensions with the British royal family lingered, fueled by media speculation about his estrangement from King Charles III and Prince William. As the theme music swelled, Tamron stood, her tailored pantsuit exuding confidence. She was a trailblazer herself. Born and raised in Texas, she had climbed from small-town reporting gigs at stations like KBTX to becoming the first African-American woman to co-host NBC's Today's Show. After navigating corporate shakeups and personal challenges, including advocacy against domestic violence, a cause close to her heart as a survivor and mother, she launched her own syndicated talk show in 2019. It was a platform for authentic dialogue, but Tamron wasn't afraid to probe deeper, often blending empathy with journalistic rigor. Her motivation? To elevate voices, challenge narratives, and spark change. Yet, critics sometimes accused her of pushing boundaries for ratings, a fine line in the cutthroat world of daytime TV. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Prince Harry," Tamron announced, her voice rich and inviting. The audience erupted in applause, a mix of cheers and gasps. Harry strode onto the set from stage left, waving graciously. He wore a casual yet polished ensemble, a navy blazer over a crisp white shirt, jeans, and polished boots, a nod to his California life. He hugged Tamron lightly, exchanging pleasantries as they settled into the chairs. The other panelists, 2 guest co-hosts, a lifestyle expert named Lisa and a comedian named Marcus, smiled warmly, ready to chime in. The initial atmosphere was friendly, almost electric. Tamron started with the easy questions, the ones designed to set a comfortable tone. "Prince Harry, it's an honor to have you here. Your work with Archwell and the Invictus Games has inspired so many. Tell us about your latest project, this new mental health initiative aimed at young people in underserved communities." Harry leaned forward, his eyes lighting up. "Thank you, Tamron. It's all about breaking the stigma around mental health. We've partnered with organizations worldwide to provide resources, especially in places like Africa and the US, where access is limited. It's personal for me. I've shared my own struggles, and I want others to know it's okay to seek help." The audience nodded appreciatively, a few murmurs of agreement rippling through the crowd. Lisa, the lifestyle expert, jumped in. "That's so powerful. As a mom, I see how kids today face so much pressure from social media." Marcus added a light joke. "Yeah, and us adults aren't doing much better. I need therapy after reading the comments on my posts." Laughter filled the studio, easing any underlying tension. But nobody in the audience, or perhaps even Harry himself, was prepared for what happened next. This moment would go down in television history, a clash that exposed raw nerves and ignited debates across the globe. As the segment progressed, Tamron shifted gears, her journalistic instincts kicking in. She had done her homework, drawing from Harry's public life, his military service in Afghanistan, his marriage to Meghan, their decision to step back from royal duties in 2020, dubbed Megxit by the press, and the ongoing fallout. Recent headlines from 2025 highlighted his settled lawsuits against tabloids for phone hacking and privacy invasions, as well as his vocal advocacy for mental health amid personal family rifts. Tamron, ever the probing host, saw an opportunity to delve into the human side. Harry, you've been incredibly open about your mental health journey in Spare and through Archwell. That's commendable. But some critics, and even members of the public, have questioned whether your advocacy rings hollow when juxtaposed with your own family's dynamics. Your relationship with King Charles and Prince William has been under intense scrutiny. Do you think stepping away from the royal family has truly allowed you to heal, or has it created more division? The question hung in the air like a storm cloud. The audience fell into a hushed murmur, a few gasps echoing from the back rows. Harry's smile faltered for a split second, but he recovered quickly, his training in public appearances kicking in. He shifted in his seat, crossing one leg over the other. Well, Tamron, family is complicated for everyone, isn't it? My focus has always been on protecting my own family, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet, and using my platform for good. Healing is a process, and I'm committed to it. Tamron nodded, but her eyes sharpened, a hallmark of her style that blended empathy with persistence. As a journalist who had covered hard-hitting stories, from crime investigations on her former show, Deadline Crime, to personal advocacy, she pressed on. Absolutely, family is complicated. But you've accused the media and even the institution of the monarchy of perpetuating harm. Yet, in stepping away, you've built a life in California with multimillion-dollar deals, Netflix, Spotify, your book. Some say that's hypocrisy, profiting from the very drama you claim to escape. How do you respond to those who feel your actions undermine the mental health message you're promoting? The studio grew quieter, the air thickening with unease. Lisa fidgeted with her notes, glancing nervously at Marcus, who forced a weak smile but stayed silent. Behind the scenes, producers in the control room exchanged worried looks, one whispering into a headset. This is getting intense, keep the cameras rolling. The audience shifted in their seats. A woman in the front row pulled out her phone discreetly, starting to record. The hum of the cameras seemed louder now, capturing every micro-expression, Harry's jaw tightening slightly, his hands clasping together in his lap. Harry took a measured breath, his voice steady but laced with a hint of frustration. Tamron, I appreciate the question, but let's be clear, my family's privacy and safety were at stake. The deals you're mentioning? They're about creating content that helps others, documentaries on mental health, stories that inspire change. It's not about profit, it's about impact. I've lost friends, faced threats, and dealt with immense grief, from my mother's death to the pressures of royal life. If sharing that helps one person feel less alone, it's worth it. But Tamron wasn't backing down. Her motivation stemmed from a place of genuine curiosity, perhaps tinted by her own experiences navigating public life as a Black woman in media, where authenticity is constantly questioned. I hear you, and your vulnerability is powerful. But let's talk about the family angle more deeply. In Spare, you detailed painful moments with your brother and father. Fast forward to 2025, reports say you've settled lawsuits against the press, but the royal family remains divided. King Charles's health issues have been public. Do you regret adding to that stress with your revelations? Is there a line between advocacy and what some call airing dirty laundry for personal gain? The escalation was palpable now. Harry's eyes narrowed, a flicker of anger crossing his face, the same intensity he'd shown in military briefings or courtroom battles. The audience was divided, some nodded in agreement with Tamron's probing, others whispered in defense of Harry, one man muttering, "That's too personal." Lisa tried to interject awkwardly. Tamron, maybe we can shift to the positive impact of Invictus. But Tamron held up a hand gently, her focus unwavering. Harry leaned forward, his voice dropping an octave, carrying the weight of years of pent-up emotion. Tamron, with all due respect, this isn't just dirty laundry. It's about systemic issues, racism, mental health neglect, the toll of public life. My mother, Princess Diana, was hounded to her death by the press. I've seen history repeating with Meghan. Regret? I regret not speaking up sooner. But accusing me of causing stress? That's flipping the narrative. The institution has its own role in this division. The tension crackled like electricity. Producers scrambled backstage, one signaling to the floor manager to prepare for a commercial break if needed. The other co-host, Marcus, chuckled nervously. Whoa, this is getting real, like a Royal Rumble. But the joke fell flat, met with uneasy laughter from a few audience members. Tears welled in the eyes of a young woman in the third row, touched by Harry's raw honesty, while an older gentleman shook his head, murmuring about disrespect. What happened next would shock everyone in the studio and millions watching at home. The conflict was just beginning to boil over, revealing deeper truths about dignity, privacy, and the cost of truth-telling. The Tamron Hall show's studio was a pressure cooker, the air thick with anticipation as Prince Harry's words hung in the silence. His last statement, calling out the systemic issues within the monarchy and the press, had landed like a grenade. The audience, a mix of wide-eyed fans and skeptical onlookers, was frozen, their phones now openly recording the unfolding drama. Tamron Hall, her journalistic instincts in overdrive, leaned forward, her expression a blend of curiosity and challenge. She wasn't malicious, but her reputation for fearless questioning drove her to dig deeper, even as the room teetered on the edge of chaos. Harry, you've made bold claims about the institution, Tamron said, her voice measured but pointed. You've spoken about racism, neglect, and a lack of support for Meghan. These are serious accusations. But some viewers, and I'm sure they're watching right now, might say you're deflecting. By focusing on the monarchy's flaws, are you avoiding accountability for your own role in this family rift? For example, your Oprah interview in 2021, your Netflix series, your book, they've been seen as bombshells. Did you consider the collateral damage to your father, your brother, or the institution you were raised in? The question was a gut punch, framed with Tamron's signature blend of empathy and steel. Her own background, rising from a small-town reporter to a national figure, navigating racial and gender biases, and advocating for survivors like herself, gave her a unique lens. She saw Harry's story as one of privilege and pain, but she wasn't afraid to challenge the narrative. The audience gasped audibly, a woman in the back whispering, "She went there." The cameras zoomed in, capturing Harry's clenched jaw and the subtle tremble in his hands as he gripped the armrest of his chair. The hum of the studio lights seemed louder, the clack of a producer's heels echoing backstage as they signaled to keep rolling, no matter what. Harry's eyes locked onto Tamron's, a storm brewing behind his calm exterior. He'd faced tough questions before, courtrooms, paparazzi, royal protocol, but this felt personal, a direct challenge to his integrity. Tamron, he began, his voice low and deliberate. I don't deflect. I've owned my choices. Leaving the royal family wasn't about running away, it was about survival. Meghan and I were drowning, and the institution didn't throw us a lifeline. The Oprah interview, the book, they weren't about settling scores. They were about telling the truth, something I was taught to value. If that truth makes people uncomfortable, that's not on me. It's on a system that thrives on silence. The audience stirred, a mix of applause and murmurs. A young man in the front row nodded vigorously, while an older woman shook her head, muttering about loyalty. Lisa, the lifestyle expert, tried to diffuse the tension. I think what Harry's saying is so relatable. Family dynamics are tough, royal or not. Maybe we can talk about how Archewell is helping families heal? Her voice was hopeful but strained, her smile faltering under the weight of the moment. Marcus, the comedian, stayed silent, his usual humor replaced by wide-eyed discomfort. Tamron, undeterred, pressed on. Truth is powerful, Harry, and you've used it as a weapon. But let's talk about the cost. Your father, King Charles, is dealing with health challenges, Reports say he's been under immense stress since his diagnosis in 2024. Your brother William is preparing for his future role while raising 3 kids. Some say your public disclosures have added to their burdens. If your goal is healing, as you say, how do you justify actions that, to many, feel like betrayal? The word betrayal sliced through the room. Harry's face hardened, his military training kicking in to keep his composure, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of pain. The audience was now fully divided. Half seemed to hang on his every word, the other half whispering in judgment. A producer in the control room hissed into a headset. "This is gold, but we're on thin ice. Stand by for security." The cameras caught every detail. Tamron's steady gaze, Harry's tightening grip on his chair, the nervous glances of the co-hosts. Harry leaned forward, his voice rising with a raw edge. "Betrayal? Tamron, betrayal is when the people you trust turn their backs on you. Betrayal is when your family is smeared by the press, and the institution you serve does nothing. I've spent years trying to protect my family, to honor my mother's memory, to fight for what's right. If speaking out about racism, about mental health, about a system that failed us is seen as betrayal, then maybe the problem isn't me. It's a world that expects silence over truth." The studio erupted in a cacophony of reactions, claps, gasps, a few boos. A woman in the third row wiped away tears, moved by Harry's defense of his principles. Another audience member shouted, "Tell it, Harry!" while others shook their heads. Tamron's expression softened slightly, sensing she'd pushed him to the edge, but her journalistic drive held firm. "I respect your passion, Harry. But does the truth always have to be so public? Couldn't private conversations with your family have achieved the same healing?" That was the breaking point. Harry stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the polished floor. The audience fell silent, the air charged with shock. "Tamron, I've tried private conversations. For years. They didn't work. I'm not here to play nice for ratings or to pretend everything's fine. I'm here to stand up for my family, for my truth, and for the millions who feel silenced. If that makes me the villain, so be it." He turned, his boots clicking as he walked off the set, head held high. The audience gasped collectively, phones raised to capture the moment. Lisa stammered, "Oh, wow, let's take a quick break." Marcus forced a laugh. "Well, that's one way to exit." But his voice was drowned out by the chaos. Tamron sat back, stunned but composed, as producers rushed to the stage, one barking into a headset, "Cut to commercial, now!" Security hovered near the wings, unsure whether to follow Harry or stay put. Backstage, Harry paused only briefly to grab his jacket, his face a mix of resolve and exhaustion. The moment was already going viral, clips flooding X, TikTok, and Instagram. "Prince Harry walks OFF Tamron Hall show after heated clash," screamed early headlines. Comment sections exploded with debates. "Harry's a hero for standing up," versus "He's disrespecting his family again." The studio audience remained divided, some applauding his courage, others murmuring about his temper. In the days that followed, the incident dominated media cycles. Tamron issued a statement praising Harry's advocacy but defending her role as a journalist asking tough questions. Harry, through Archwell, released a brief note. "Speaking truth isn't easy, but it's necessary. I stand by my family and our mission." The royal family remained silent, though sources close to Buckingham Palace hinted at disappointment. Social media was a battlefield, with hashtag Harry walks off trending alongside hashtag Tamron too far. The clash left viewers grappling with big questions. Where's the line between truth and betrayal? Can public advocacy heal private wounds? Was Harry right to walk off, or did Tamron's questions expose a necessary truth? The moment wasn't just a TV spectacle, it was a mirror to society's struggles with honesty, privilege, and family. What do you think? Did Harry overreact, or was Tamron's line of questioning too personal? Should truth be aired publicly, or kept behind closed doors? Share your thoughts in the comments, and join the conversation. This is one TV moment we won't forget.